We're going to continue with European diplomatic history here. We've talked about raison d'etat, reason of state. We've talked about the balance of power. I want to talk a little bit here about the concert of Europe. This resulted from the settlement of the Napoleonic Wars in Vienna. This idea of the concert of Europe entailed the alliance between Prussia, Austria, and Russia to maintain the peace of Central and Eastern Europe. It's an attempt to restore the balance of power after Napoleon's dominance. Let's face it, Napoleon had dominated Europe for a decade, and this is an attempt to sort of bring the various nation states back into some sort of a balance with one another. We'll discuss the Napoleonic Wars at a different time. This Vienna settlement will establish what historians call the long 19th century, and we'll encounter this phrase again. The long 19th century is that long period between the end of the Napoleonic Wars in 1815 and then the beginning of the Great War in 1914. So that's 99 years without a general war in Europe. There are small local wars, but not a big one. The concert of Europe establishes sort of a balance between power and justice. It creates harmony between these two concepts. A sense of shared justice reduces the desire to use force. If each nation state believes they are being treated justly, fairly, it reduces the chances of war, obviously. An international order which is not considered just will be challenged. And my goodness, we'll see this in full bloom after the Treaty of Versailles in the 20th century with the rise of Hitler and Imperial Japan. Of course, in Europe, Hitler will view the Versailles Treaty as unjust and will seek to overturn it. All right, so let's look at Germany here for a moment. The problem of Germany. When Germany is weak and divided, the Holy Roman Empire, as it has been for most of its existence, then these small German states tend to tempt their bigger neighbors into aggression or expansionism. Let's stick with the problem of Germany here. When it's broken up into small, weak states, it tempts aggression, but there's a fear, a genuine terror of what it would mean for Europe if all these small German states were to be cobbled together into a German empire, and then to have this large, dominant country right in the heart of Europe. So we're kind of in a dilemma here: keep Germany weak and fragmented, or allow it to sort of coalesce, come together into a modern nation state. The problem of France. Now, the statesmen at the Congress of Vienna, where the sort of the concert of Europe strategy is devised, they concluded that Europe would be safer if France were relatively satisfied instead of resentful and full of ideas of vengeance. This is far-sighted diplomacy at the Congress of Vienna. We don't want to punish France too much to make her aggressive in 20 years from now. So we need to leave France reasonably satisfied. The problem of Russia. At the Congress of Vienna, the common cause is formed between Austria and Russia. These two states are in competition for that territory that sort of lies between them. What we call the Balkans. The Ottoman Turks are also in competition for this area of Europe. So you sort of have Austria, Russia, and the Ottomans, and then this Balkan area north of Greece extending all the way up to Austria-Hungary. This area is going to be increasingly troublesome as the Ottoman Turks recede from it, leaving a vacuum that Austria and Russia are going to want to fill to some degree. So the concert of Europe tries to create peace between Austria and Russia by appealing to their traditional conservatism, to combat revolution, to maintain the status quo. The concert of Europe was successful because the three Eastern European powers, Prussia, Russia, and Austria, saw their unity as an essential barrier to revolutionary chaos on the one hand and to prevent French domination on the other. So here you kind of see the balance of power operating within the concert of Europe. Let's look at Great Britain for a moment and the balance of power. Britain had traditionally sort of rejected collective security to keep its options open. Britain had maintained what has been called splendid isolation there on its island across the English Channel from Europe. Britain traditionally sought to prevent any one power from dominating Europe, as we mentioned before. In pursuit of that strategy, Britain joins alliances against Louis XIV to keep France from dominating Europe. Britain joins alliances in the next century against Napoleon to keep Napoleonic France from dominating Europe. Britain would join the alliance, the Triple Entente, in 1914 against Kaiser Wilhelm's Germany in the Great War. Britain will be a part of the Grand Alliance against Hitler's Third Reich in the attempt of the Nazis to overrun Europe. And then, of course, Britain will join NATO after the Second World War as we enter the Cold War. Britain will join NATO with the United States as an alliance against the Soviet Union. So you can see this practice repeats itself in British history. Now, Realpolitik and the end of the concert of Europe. Mid-19th century, you have the rise of Napoleon III. He's the Emperor Napoleon's nephew in France. And then in Prussia, you have the rise of Otto von Bismarck. Both of these men dislike this concert of Europe. Napoleon disliked it because the concert of Europe is designed to hem France in to keep it from becoming too powerful. Bismarck disliked the concert of Europe because it kept Germany weak and divided. Napoleon III's attempt to reassert French power led to defeat at the hands of Bismarck's new German Empire. Bismarck's diplomacy and a series of wars against the Habsburgs and Austria against the French are going to lead to the emergence of a new, powerful German Empire in the heart of Europe. And we'll see the consequences of this when we get to the Great War. So let's draw some conclusions. A universal European empire gives way to a system of individual nation states pursuing their own interest. Raison d'etat, reason of state. Cardinal Richelieu begins this practice in the 17th century as Catholic battles fellow Catholic using Protestants as allies. The balance of power emerges to prevent one European state from dominating the rest. The concert of Europe sought to keep Germany divided, France sort of isolated and restrained, and keep Russia allied with Austria and Prussia based on conservative anti-revolutionary values. Realpolitik evaluates the state's power and its interest, and then shapes its diplomacy accordingly. We'll see Realpolitik demonstrated in its most shocking form, perhaps, in August of 1939, with the signing of the Non-Aggression Pact between Hitler and Stalin, thus starting the Second World War. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you.